The black SUV screeched to a halt in the rain-soaked alley, and Min-jae stumbled out, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "Boss, we need to get you to the hospital," his bodyguard shouted from the driver's seat. "No hospitals," Min-jae barked, his voice sharp despite the pain coursing through his body. "They'll track us there. Just drive somewhere quiet." The car sped through the narrow streets of Seoul's outskirts, finally stopping in a modest neighborhood where streetlights flickered weakly against the evening darkness. Min-jae's vision blurred as he leaned against a brick wall, trying to catch his breath. Blood seeped through his expensive suit jacket, staining it dark crimson. "Boss, you're losing too much blood." "I said no hospitals." Min-jae's eyes flashed with anger, but his legs betrayed him, buckling beneath his weight. Before he hit the ground, small hands caught his arm. "Mister, you're hurt really bad." Min-jae's eyes focused on a young girl no more than 8 years old, with dark skin and worried brown eyes that seemed too large for her face. Her school uniform was worn but clean, and her backpack hung loosely from one shoulder. "Kid, get away from here." "This doesn't concern you," Min-jae growled, trying to shake her off. "But you're bleeding." "My mom's a nurse." "Well, she was, but she still knows how to help." The girl's voice rang with urgency and determination. If you're loving the story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. Min-jae's bodyguard stepped forward. "Little girl, you should go home. This man is dangerous." "I don't care," she shot back, her small frame somehow commanding attention. "Nobody should bleed like that. Come on, mister, our apartment is right there." She pointed to a rundown building across the street. Min-jae studied her face. There was no fear in her eyes, only concern. In his world of betrayal and violence, such pure innocence seemed almost alien. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice softening slightly. "Amara. And you need help right now, so stop being stubborn." Despite the pain, Min-jae almost smiled. This child had just scolded one of Seoul's most feared Mafia bosses, like he was a misbehaving student. "Fine," he muttered. "But if this is a trap." "A trap." "I'm 8. Amara huffed, already tugging at his good arm. "Come on. Before you pass out, I have to drag you." Min-jae allowed himself to be led across the street, his bodyguard following closely. Amara's apartment was small, barely 3 rooms, but spotlessly clean. Photos lined the walls, mostly of Amara and a beautiful black woman with kind eyes. Mom, we have an emergency," Amara called out. A woman emerged from a kitchen, her eyes widening at the sight of a bleeding man in an expensive suit standing in her living room, flanked by a stern-looking bodyguard. "Amara, what have you done?" her mother gasped. "He was bleeding outside, Mom. You have to help him." The woman, who introduced herself as Grace, hesitated only a moment before her nursing instincts kicked in. "Sit him down. Quickly." As Grace worked to stop the bleeding, cleaning the gunshot wound with practiced efficiency, Min-jae watched her carefully. Her hands were steady, her movements confident. "You're good at this," he observed. "I worked at Seoul General for 5 years," Grace replied without looking up. Before what?" Grace's jaw tightened. "Before my visa expired and they fired me. Now I clean offices at night." She pressed a clean cloth against his wound. "This needs proper stitches. You should really go to a hospital." "No hospitals," Min-jae repeated firmly. "Then you'll have to settle for my amateur stitching. Amara, get the first aid kit from the bathroom. The big one." As Amara scurried away, Min-jae studied Grace more carefully. Despite her circumstances, she carried herself with dignity. Her hands, though working a cleaning job, were gentle and skilled. "Why help me?" he asked quietly. "You don't know who I am." Grace met his eyes. "I know exactly who you are. Min-jae, right? The news talks about your organization quite often." She tied off a stitch. "But right now, you're just a man who needs help. That's what I see." Amara returned with the kit, watching intently as her mother worked. "Mom's the best nurse ever. She used to tell me stories about saving people at the hospital." "Amara, honey, go do your homework," Grace said gently. "But Mom." "Now please." Reluctantly, Amara retreated to the small bedroom, though she left the door cracked open, clearly still listening. Min-jae winced as Grace applied antiseptic. "Your daughter is fearless." "Too fearless sometimes," Grace sighed. "She doesn't understand that the world isn't always kind to people who help strangers." "Smart woman. Just a cautious one." Grace finished bandaging the wound. "You'll need to change this dressing twice daily, and no strenuous activity for at least 2 weeks." Min-jae stood slowly, testing his shoulder. The pain had dulled to a manageable throb. He reached into his jacket pocket with his good hand and pulled out a thick envelope. "I don't want your money," Grace said immediately. "It's not charity. It's payment for medical services." Min-jae placed the envelope on the table. "And for your discretion." Grace stared at the envelope but didn't touch it. "I won't tell anyone you were here. You don't need to pay me for basic human decency." For the first time in years, Min-jae felt something stir in his chest. Respect, perhaps, or something deeper he couldn't quite name. His bodyguard cleared his throat. "Boss, we should go. It's not safe to stay in one place." Min-jae nodded, but paused at the door. "If you ever need anything." "We won't," Grace said firmly. As Min-jae descended the stairs, he heard Amara's voice call out from the apartment window. "Bye, mister. Don't get shot again." Despite everything, Min-jae smiled. 3 weeks later, Min-jae sat in his penthouse office, reviewing reports from his lieutenants. The organization had been compromised from within, and he was systematically identifying the traitors. It was brutal work, the kind that reminded him why people feared his name. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Yes." "Mr. Min-jae?" A small voice. "Amara." Min-jae sat up straight. "How did you get this number?" "Your friend left a card with numbers on it." "Listen, I need your help." Her voice cracked with desperation. "What's wrong?" "It's my mom. She's sick, really sick, and she won't go to the hospital because we don't have insurance, and she's worried about money, and she keeps saying she's fine, but she's not fine." The words tumbled out in a rush. "She's been coughing really bad, and today she collapsed at work, and—" "Where are you?" Min-jae was already standing, grabbing his coat. "At home." "But Mr. Min-jae, I don't have money to pay you back if you help." "I don't want money. Stay with your mother. I'll be there in 15 minutes." He was there in 10. When Amara opened the door, tears streaked her face. "She's in the bedroom. She keeps telling me not to bother anyone, but I'm scared." Min-jae found Grace lying in bed, her breathing shallow and labored. Her skin was hot to the touch fever. When she opened her eyes and saw him, she tried to sit up. "No. Amara, you shouldn't have." "Your daughter did the right thing," Min-jae said firmly. He turned to his bodyguard, who had accompanied him. "Call Dr. Yoon. Tell him to come immediately with everything he needs. And he's to tell no one." "No, please," Grace protested weakly. "I can't afford. You helped me without asking for payment. Now I'm returning the favor. Don't insult me by refusing." Within the hour, Dr. Yoon arrived, a discreet physician who treated members of Min-jae's organization without asking questions. He examined Grace thoroughly while Amara clutched Min-jae's hand in the living room. "Is my mom going to die?" Amara whispered. Min-jae looked down at her tear-stained face. In his world, he was accustomed to fear, to people cowering before him. But this child had sought him out, had trusted him to help when she had nowhere else to turn. "No," he said with absolute certainty. "Your mother will be fine." Dr. Yoon emerged from the bedroom. "Severe pneumonia. She needs antibiotics, rest, and monitoring. If she'd waited another day or two." He shook his head. "She should be hospitalized." "Treat her here," Min-jae ordered. "Whatever equipment you need, get it. Whatever medications, supplies, I don't care about the cost." Over the next week, Min-jae found himself visiting the small apartment daily. Dr. Yoon set up in 4-line and monitored Grace's progress, while Min-jae ensured they had everything they needed. He had groceries delivered, paid their rent for the next 6 months, and even arranged for someone to handle Grace's night shift so she wouldn't lose her job. Amara appointed herself as both her mother's nurse and Min-jae's companion during his visits. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked one evening as they sat in the living room while Grace slept. "Mom says people don't help others without wanting something back." Min-jae considered the question carefully. Why was he doing this? He could have simply paid for a hospital stay and been done with it. Instead, he found himself drawn back to this modest apartment, to this brave little girl and her principled mother. "Your mother helped me when she didn't have to," he finally said. "In my world, such kindness is rare." "What world is that?" "A complicated one." Amara studied him with those two wise eyes. "Mom says you're a bad man. But bad men don't help people, do they?" "Some bad men do bad things for complicated reasons," Min-jae replied. "That's a grown-up answer. It doesn't make sense." Despite himself, Min-jae chuckled. "You're right. It doesn't." By the end of the week, Grace was sitting up, eating properly, and regaining her strength. Min-jae arrived for what he intended to be his final visit. "You're looking much better," he observed. "Thanks to you," Grace said softly. I don't know how to repay you for all of this." "There's nothing to repay. There's always something to repay. In my experience, debts never disappear. They just wait for the right moment to be collected." Min-jae sat down across from her. "You have a cynical view of humanity." "I have a realistic view," Grace corrected. "I've seen what happens when people accept help they can't repay. It chains them. Then consider yourself unchained." "I want nothing from you." Grace studied his face, searching for deception and finding none. "Why? And please don't give me that line about returning a favor. This goes far beyond stitching up a gunshot wound." Min-jae was quiet for a long moment. "Because in my world, everyone wants something from me. Power, money, protection, revenge. Your daughter asked for help because her mother was sick. She offered nothing in return, expected nothing except help. That kind of purity." He paused. "It reminded me that goodness still exists." Grace's expression softened. "Amara is my everything. She's the reason I keep going, keep fighting, even when things seem impossible." "Where is her father?" "Gone. He couldn't handle the responsibility." Grace's voice held no bitterness, only resignation. "It's been just us for 5 years now." Before Min-jae could respond, Amara burst into the room. "Mom, you're sitting up. Does this mean you're all better?" "Getting there, baby," Grace smiled, opening her arms for a hug. As Min-jae watched them embrace, something twisted in his chest. He'd never known this kind of love. Pure, unconditional, unwavering. His own family had been torn apart by the very violence he now perpetuated. He stood to leave. "Dr. Yoon will continue checking on you for another week. After that, you should be fully recovered." "Wait," Amara said suddenly. "Mr. Min-jae, why do you always look so sad?" "Amara," Grace gasped. "That's rude." But Min-jae knelt down to Amara's level. "What makes you think I'm sad?" "Your eyes," Amara said simply. "They're sad even when you smile. Like you lost something important and don't know how to find it." Out of the mouths of children, Min-jae thought. This 8-year-old had seen through him more clearly than any of his associates. "Maybe I did lose something," he admitted. "A long time ago." "What was it?" "A family." Amara's eyes widened. "Oh, that's really sad." She thought for a moment, then her face brightened. "I know. You can borrow my mom." Both adults stared at her. "Amara, what are you talking about?" Grace asked. "Well, Mr. Min-jae doesn't have a family, and we're really good at being a family. So he can borrow us. Like when I borrow books from a library and give them back later." Grace looked mortified. "Sweetheart, people aren't books." But Min-jae laughed, a genuine, full laugh that startled even himself. "You want to lend me your mother? And me too. We come as a package." Amara declared proudly. "You helped us, so we should help you not be lonely." Grace covered her face with her hands. "I am so sorry. She doesn't understand." "No," Min-jae interrupted, still smiling. "She understands perfectly." He looked at Amara. "Thank you for the offer. But your mother needs you." "I'll be fine." "But will you?" Amara challenged. Because you don't look fine. You look like you need someone to make you soup and tell you to rest and give you hugs. Min-jae's smile faded into something softer, something almost vulnerable. I haven't had those things in a very long time. Then it's settled. Amara announced. You should come for dinner tomorrow. Mom makes the best jollof rice. Grace started to protest, but then she saw the expression on Min-jae's face. Hope mixed with longing and fear, as if he were being offered something precious that might shatter if he reached for it. One dinner, she heard herself say, to properly thank you for everything. Min-jae met her eyes. One dinner, he agreed. As he left the apartment that evening, Min-jae felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Anticipation that had nothing to do with business or power or revenge. Just the simple anticipation of sharing a meal with people who saw him as something more than a feared mafia boss. Maybe, just maybe, Amara was right. Maybe he could borrow a family just for a little while. Min-jae arrived at the apartment the next evening carrying a bouquet of flowers and a bag of expensive groceries. Grace opened the door, her eyes widening at the sight. You didn't have to bring anything. In my culture, arriving empty-handed is disrespectful, Min-jae replied, stepping inside. The apartment smelled wonderful. Spices he didn't recognize, but found instantly comforting. Mr. Min-jae. Amara raced over, wearing a bright yellow dress. You came. I told Mom you would, but she said maybe you'd be too busy being important. Nothing is more important than keeping a promise to you, Min-jae said, and meant it. Grace took the flowers, her hands trembling slightly. These are beautiful. I haven't received flowers since. She stopped herself. Thank you. Dinner was unlike anything Min-jae had experienced. The jollof rice was perfectly seasoned, the fried plantain sweet and crispy, and the chicken tender and flavorful. But more than the food, it was the atmosphere. The easy laughter, Amara's endless chatter about school, Grace's gentle corrections, and warm smiles. So at school today, Jenny said I couldn't play princess because princesses don't look like me. Amara announced, her fork waving dramatically. But I told her that's stupid because Princess Tiana exists. And so does Princess Nella, and besides, I can be whatever I want. That's right, baby, Grace said proudly. Don't let anyone limit your dreams. Min-jae set down his fork. Amara, do you know what makes a real princess? What? Courage, kindness, and standing up for what's right. You have all three of those things. That makes you more of a princess than anyone wearing a crown. Amara beamed. Did you hear that, Mom? I'm a real princess. I always knew you were, Grace said softly, her eyes meeting Min-jae's with gratitude. After dinner, Amara insisted on showing Min-jae her room, a small space made magical with drawings taped to every wall, stuffed animals arranged carefully on the bed, and books stacked in neat piles. This is my favorite. She held up a worn book about a girl who befriended a dragon. Mom reads it to me every night. Well, she did before she got sick, but now she's better so she can read again. It sounds like a good story. It is. The dragon is scary at first, but then the girl realizes he's just lonely and misunderstood, so they become best friends. Amara hugged the book. Kind of like you. Min-jae raised an eyebrow. I'm the dragon in this scenario. Uh-huh. Everyone thinks you're scary, but really you're just lonely. Amara said matter-of-factly. That's why you need to borrow us. Grace appeared in the doorway. Amara, it's almost bedtime. Go brush your teeth. But Mom. Now please. As Amara reluctantly headed to the bathroom, Grace led Min-jae back to the living room. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Grace spoke. She's getting attached to you, Grace said quietly. I need to know, is this something temporary? Because if you're going to disappear from our lives, I need to prepare her for that. She's already lost too many people. Min-jae considered his words carefully. In my line of work, nothing is certain. Every day could be my last. But I can tell you that walking away from you both would be a choice, not a necessity. And right now, I have no desire to make that choice. Right now, Grace repeated. But what about when the novelty wears off? When you remember that you're a powerful man with an empire to run, and we're just us. Just you. Min-jae leaned forward. Grace, in my world, I'm surrounded by people who would betray me for the right price, who smile to my face while plotting behind my back. You and Amara, you're real. That's not a novelty. That's precious. Grace's eyes glistened. My daughter offered to lend you her mother like I'm a library book. Do you understand how insane that sounds? And yet here you are, and here I am, and somehow it doesn't feel insane at all. It feels right. Min-jae finished. Dangerous, Grace corrected. Your world and ours, they don't mix. Eventually, that's going to matter. Maybe. Or maybe we create something new. Something that doesn't fit into either world. Before Grace could respond, Amara emerged in her pajamas. Mom, you promised you'd read to me. Grace stood, but Amara grabbed Min-jae's hand. Can Mr. Min-jae read tonight? Please? I want to hear what a dragon sounds like when he reads. Grace looked at Min-jae questioningly. To her surprise, he nodded. I'd be honored. Amara dragged him to her room, climbed into bed, and handed him the dragon book. Min-jae settled into the small chair beside her bed and began to read. He gave the dragon a deep, rumbling voice and the girl a bright, cheerful tone. Amara giggled with delight. Grace watched from the doorway, her heart aching. This man, this dangerous, powerful man, was reading a children's book with complete sincerity, making her daughter laugh with his dramatic voices. When had her life become so complicated? And why did it feel so right? By the time the story ended, Amara was yawning. That was the best reading ever. Will you come back tomorrow and read more? I have business tomorrow, Min-jae said gently. But I'll come back soon. Promise. I promise. Amara threw her arms around his neck in an unexpected hug. Min-jae froze, then slowly wrapped his arms around her small frame. Something inside him cracked, something hard and cold that had been there for years. Thank you for being my friend, Amara whispered. And for letting us be your borrowed family. Min-jae's voice was rough when he spoke. Thank you for wanting me. As Min-jae prepared to leave, Grace walked him to the door. She really loves you, you know, Grace said. It scares me how quickly it happened. It scares me too, Min-jae admitted. I'm not a good man, Grace. The things I've done. I don't need to know your past, Grace interrupted. I see who you are right now in this moment. That's what matters. Min-jae reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was tender, intimate. And who am I right now? Someone trying to find his way back to being human, Grace whispered. Their faces were inches apart. Min-jae could feel her breath, see the fear and hope warring in her eyes. He wanted to kiss her, wanted it more than he'd wanted anything in years. But he stepped back. I should go. Thank you for dinner. Min-jae, Grace called as he reached the stairs. Tomorrow, when you're handling your business, be careful. Please. The concern in her voice undid him more than any touch could have. I will, he promised. The next 2 months passed in a strange, wonderful pattern. Min-jae continued running his organization with ruthless efficiency, but his evenings often found him at Grace and Amara's apartment. He helped Amara with homework, fixed things that broke, and slowly became woven into the fabric of their daily lives. His men noticed the change. He was still formidable, still commanded absolute loyalty, but there was something different, a softness around the edges that hadn't been there before. Boss, are you sure about this attachment? His right-hand man, Tae-sung, asked one evening. It makes you vulnerable. Everything worth having makes you vulnerable, Min-jae replied. But a woman and a child? If your enemies discover them, then I'll destroy anyone who dares threaten them, Min-jae said coldly. Completely. Do I make myself clear? Tae-sung bowed. Crystal clear, boss. But Tae-sung's warning proved prescient. One evening, as Min-jae was leaving his office, he received a call from an unknown number. Min-jae, a familiar voice purred. Song Ji-hoon, leader of a rival organization. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. What do you want, Ji-hoon? Just calling to admire your new hobby. The black woman and her daughter? Quite the unconventional family you've built. Min-jae's blood turned to ice. If you touch them. Oh, I won't touch them. Not yet. But you've made them such obvious targets. All those visits, so public, so careless. Anyone with eyes can see they matter to you. Ji-hoon laughed. I wonder how far you'd go to protect them? What would you sacrifice? The line went dead. Min-jae was already running to his car, calling Tae-sung. Get teams to Grace's apartment now. And I mean now. Boss, what's happening? Ji-hoon knows about them. Move. Min-jae drove like a man possessed, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. He'd been careless, so focused on the happiness they brought him that he'd forgotten the cardinal rule. Anything you love can be used against you. He arrived at the apartment building to find his men already there, surrounding the entrance. Tae-sung met him at the door. They're safe, boss. No one approached the building. Min-jae pushed past him, taking the stairs 3 at a time. He pounded on Grace's door. Grace opened it, surprised. Min-jae? What's wrong? You look. He pushed inside, checking the windows, the locks, scanning for any sign of danger. Pack a bag. Both of you. Right now. What? Why? Because I put you in danger. Min-jae's voice cracked. Someone knows about you, knows what you mean to me, and that makes you a target. Amara appeared from her room, sleepy and confused. Mr. Min-jae? Why are you yelling? Grace pulled her daughter close. Min-jae, calm down. Tell me what happened. He did, the words tumbling out. Ji-hoon's call, the threat, the reality that his world had finally collided with theirs in the worst possible way. When he finished, Grace was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice steady. So what are our options? I take you somewhere safe. A place Ji-hoon can't reach. I have a property in Jeju Island, secure, isolated. You'll stay there until I handle this. And then what? We hide forever? Amara misses school, I lose my job, and we live in fear. It's temporary. Just until. Until what? Grace demanded. Until you kill Ji-hoon? Until the next threat emerges? This is your world, Min-jae. There will always be a next threat. I know, Min-jae shouted, then caught himself. He knelt down, taking Grace's hands. I know. That's why I should never have gotten close to you. I was selfish. I wanted what you offered, family, warmth, normalcy. But I can't have those things. Men like me don't get happy endings. Amara suddenly burst into tears. Are you leaving us? The sound broke something in Min-jae. He pulled her into his arms. No, sweetheart. I'm not leaving. I'm trying to keep you safe. But you're talking like you're saying goodbye. Amara sobbed. I don't want you to go. You're part of our family now. You promised. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Amara, baby. No. Amara pulled back, looking at Min-jae with fierce determination. You said people in your world don't fight for what they love. But we're worth fighting for. Aren't we? Min-jae stared at this 8-year-old girl who somehow understood more about courage than most of his battle-hardened men. Yes, he said hoarsely. You are worth fighting for. You are worth everything. Then don't send us away, Amara pleaded. Fight for us here. Protect us here. Because running away isn't protecting. It's just being scared together. Grace gasped. Amara, where did you? It's from my dragon book. Amara said. The girl could have run away from the dragon, but she stayed and fought for their friendship. And that's what made them strong. Min-jae looked at Grace. She's right. Running solves nothing. Ji-hoon made his move to make me panic, to make me weak. If I hide you away, I'm proving he has power over me. So what do you suggest? Grace asked. I bring you into my world properly. Protection detail, secure location, everything you need. But you stay visible, stay strong. We showed Ji-hoon that threatening you was the worst mistake he ever made. That sounds incredibly dangerous. It is. But so is hiding and hoping he'll forget about you. Min-jae stood. I won't lie to you, Grace. This path means your life changes completely. Amara will have bodyguards at school. You'll live in a secure apartment. Every move will be monitored for your safety. It's not the normal life you wanted for her. Grace looked at her daughter, who was watching them both with those impossibly wise eyes. "Mom, I'm scared," Amara admitted. "But I'm more scared of losing Mr. Min-jae. He makes you smile. He makes you happy. That's worth being brave for, isn't it?" Grace pulled her daughter close, tears streaming down her face. Then she looked at Min-jae. "Promise me something. Promise me that no matter what happens, you'll do everything in your power to keep her safe. Not me, her. She's the priority. Always. Grace. Promise me, Min-jae." "I promise," Min-jae said solemnly. "On my life, I promise. Nothing will happen to either of you." Grace took a shaky breath. "Then we stay. We face this together. Because apparently we're a borrowed family, and families don't abandon each other." Min-jae felt something he thought long dead stir in his chest. Hope, fierce and bright and terrifying. "Not borrowed," he said quietly. "Just family. If you'll have me." Amara launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Yes. Yes, we'll have you. Forever and ever." Grace joined the embrace, and for a moment, in that small apartment with danger circling like wolves outside, Min-jae felt something he'd never experienced before. He felt home. The next morning, Min-jae put his plan into action. Grace and Amara moved into a luxury apartment in one of Seoul's most secure buildings, one that Min-jae's organization controlled. Elite bodyguards were assigned to both of them, men Min-jae trusted with his own life. At first, the adjustment was jarring. Amara was thrilled with her new room, 3 times the size of her old one, but nervous about the stern-faced men who now drove her to school. Grace struggled with the loss of independence, the constant presence of protection. "I feel like a prisoner in a gilded cage," she confessed to Min-jae one evening. "I know. I'm sorry. But please, just until Ji-hoon is handled." "And when will that be?" Grace asked tiredly. "You've been saying soon for 2 weeks now." Min-jae ran a hand through his hair. The truth was, Ji-hoon had gone underground, making himself impossible to find. It was a waiting game, and Min-jae hated it. "I'm doing everything I can," he said. "I know you are." Grace softened, touching his face gently. "I see how hard you're working. I see the exhaustion in your eyes, the weight you're carrying. But Min-jae, I worry about what this is costing you." "What it's costing me." Min-jae caught her hand, pressing it against his cheek. "Grace, you and Amara have given me more than you could possibly understand. Before I met you, I was going through the motions of living. Now I have a reason to wake up beyond mere survival. Whatever this costs, it's worth it." Grace's eyes shimmered. "When did you become such a romantic?" "When a brave little girl offered to lend me her mother and called me a lonely dragon." Min-jae smiled. "She changed everything." "We both did," Grace whispered. "You changed us too." They stood there, the space between them charged with unspoken words and unfulfilled longing. Min-jae wanted to close that gap, to finally kiss her the way he'd been dreaming about for months. But Amara's voice called out from her room. "Mom, Mr. Min-jae, come see what I drew." The moment passed, but the promise of it lingered. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. Min-jae was in a meeting when Tae-sung burst in, his face pale. "Boss, we have a problem. Ji-hoon just posted a message on the underground networks. He's challenging you to a meeting, neutral ground, no weapons, just the 2 of you. It's a trap. Obviously. But he says if you don't come, he'll assume you're too weak to lead, that a woman and child have made you soft. Other organizations are watching. If you don't respond, I'll lose face, lose power, and Ji-hoon will make his move anyway." Min-jae stood. "When and where?" "Tonight. The old warehouse district." "Boss, you can't seriously be considering this." "I don't have a choice. If I look weak, sharks will circle. Grace and Amara will never be safe." "Then let me come with you. Or at least wear a vest." "No." He said, "No weapons, no backup. If I break those terms, he wins." Min-jae gripped Tae-sung's shoulder. "But I need you to do something for me. If I don't come back, if something happens, I need you to get Grace and Amara out of Korea. I have accounts set up, documents prepared. Promise me you'll protect them." Tae-sung's jaw tightened. "Boss. Promise me." I promise. But you better come back, because I don't want to be the one to tell that little girl her dragon didn't make it. Min-jae went to the apartment to say goodbye, though he didn't frame it that way. He told Grace he had business to handle, nothing more. But Amara saw through him immediately. "You're going to fight, aren't you?" she asked, her small hand clutching his. "You're going to face the bad man who threatened us." Min-jae knelt down to her level. "I'm going to end this, so you and your mom can be safe. But what if you get hurt? What if?" Her voice broke. "What if you don't come back?" "I will come back," Min-jae promised, though he wasn't sure he believed it. "I have too much to come back for." Amara threw her arms around him. "You have to. Because I just got a dad, and I'm not ready to lose him yet." The word hit Min-jae like a physical blow. "Dad." "Amara," Grace said gently, but Min-jae held up a hand. "Is that what I am to you?" he asked Amara. "Your dad." "Well, yeah," Amara said as if it were obvious. "You read me stories and help with homework and make Mom happy, and you protect us. That's what dads do. And I know you're not my real dad, but you're the closest thing I've got, so?" Min-jae pulled her close, his eyes burning. "Then I'll come back. Because dads don't break promises to their daughters." He stood, meeting Grace's eyes. She'd been crying silently. "Come back to us," she whispered. "Whatever you have to do, whoever you have to be, just come back." Min-jae crossed to her, cupping her face in his hands. "I love you," he said, the words finally breaking free. "I have for weeks now. I should have said it sooner, but I was afraid. Afraid of what it meant. Afraid of making you a target. Afraid of—" Grace kissed him, cutting off his words. It was desperate and tender and full of everything they'd been holding back. When they broke apart, Grace was smiling through her tears. "I love you too. So you come back to us, Min-jae. You hear me? You come back to your family." "I will," Min-jae promised. As he left the apartment, he didn't look back. If he did, he might not have the strength to go. The warehouse was exactly as specified, abandoned, isolated, perfect for an ambush. Min-jae arrived alone, unarmed as agreed, knowing he was probably walking to his death. Ji-hoon was waiting in the center of the empty space, a smug smile on his face. "Min-jae, you actually came. I'm impressed. I thought love had made you too weak." "Love hasn't made me weak," Min-jae said calmly. "It's made me dangerous. Because now I have something worth killing for." Ji-hoon laughed. "Killing? But we agreed, no weapons." "I don't need weapons." Min-jae stepped forward. "I need to know one thing. Why target them? Why Grace and Amara?" "Because you cared." Ji-hoon spread his arms. The great Min-jae, the Ice King, finally found weakness. "I couldn't resist. But don't worry. I'm not actually going to hurt them. I just wanted to see you squirm." "Wrong answer," Min-jae said quietly. What happened next was brutal and swift. Min-jae had been trained in combat since childhood, and without weapons, it came down to pure skill. Ji-hoon was good, but Min-jae was better, and he was fighting for his family. When it was over, Ji-hoon lay on the ground, defeated but alive. You won," Ji-hoon gasped. "But this doesn't change anything. There will always be others. You can't protect them forever." "You're right," Min-jae said. "I can't. But I can make an example of you that ensures no one else tries." He pulled out his phone, calling Tae-sung. "It's done. Send the cleanup crew. And Ji-hoon? He's going to live. But everyone's going to know what happens when you threaten my family." Min-jae returned to the apartment as dawn broke. He was bruised, exhausted, but alive. Grace opened the door, gasping at the sight of him. "Oh my God. Min-jae." "I'm okay," he said. "It's over. Ji-hoon won't be a problem anymore. Neither will anyone else who thinks they can use you against me." Amara appeared, still in her pajamas. When she saw Min-jae, she burst into tears and ran to him. "You came back. You kept your promise." Min-jae scooped her up, holding her tight despite his aching body. "I told you. Dads don't break promises." Grace joined them, and they stood there in the doorway, a Mafia boss, a former nurse, and an 8-year-old girl who'd offered to lend out her mother. "What happens now?" Grace asked. "Now," Min-jae smiled. Now we figure out how to be a family. A real one. No more borrowing, no more temporary arrangements. If you'll have me. We already said yes, remember? Amara giggled through her tears. Forever and ever. Grace cupped Min-jae's face, careful of his bruises. Forever sounds perfect. They stepped inside together, closing the door on the dangerous world outside. Inside, they had each other. And somehow that was enough. Did this story touch your heart? Drop a like, hit subscribe, and comment your favorite moment below. Share this video with someone who believes in the power of love and family. And don't forget to check out our other amazing K-drama stories. Your support means everything.